Sony. What did you do to Spider-Man? All right, guys, so this is a tough topic because just as I was really starting to warm up to Tom Holland being in the MCU and everything, right after Far From Home, then Sony does this. Sony and Disney could not agree, apparently, on a, of course, money decision on how much everyone would get, which is including the next two movies for Spider-Man. After Far From Home grossed $1 billion. So, Sony has released an official response to the recently reported news that Disney and Sony reached an impasse on its Spider-Man partnership, calling many of the stories mischaracterized and squaring much of the blame on Marvel Studio President Kevin Feige's workload. In a rare public statement, Sony released a thread on Twitter last night discussing the widely circulated and I can't even say that word, news. That company said it's disappointed by Disney's decision to no longer have Feige as a lead producer on Sony's Spider-Man films, claiming it's because of Feige's increased workload following Disney's acquisition of Fox. Disney has not commented on these claims, but also said it hopes the situation might change in the future. That's so wrong. Sony's just trying to save face. It's not Kevin's fault. He asked for more money. That's standard when you give them $2 billion in movies and being Far From Home being the highest grossed. Like, he gave you the highest gross Spider-Man movie, well, solo film pretty much, and in the MCU, and then you tell him you can only give him 5%? Are you insane? You're going to make them do all the work, everything, and then you want to Sony just wants to slap their name on it, and then you think they don't deserve more than 5%? I know, trust me. I know Disney's greedy, trust me, okay? They buy everything pretty much. But still, this is just ridiculous at this point. It's not because his increased workload. He was just fine doing Spider-Man. It's because you guys were being greedy and wanted 95% of the cut and to just slap on your Sony logo just because you own the rights to the character. That's ridiculous. Much of today's news about Spider-Man has mischaracterized recent discussions about Kevin Feige's. I think it's either Feige's or Feige. I think it's Feige, but I'm just going to say Kevin's involvement in the franchise. We're disappointed but respect Disney's decision not to have him continue as a lead producer of our next live-action Spider-Man film. We hope this might change in the future, but understand that the new responsibilities that Disney has given him, including all their newly added Marvel properties, do not allow time for him to work on IP they do not own. Kevin is terrific, and we are grateful for this help and guidance and appreciate the path he has helped put us on, which we will continue. Just trying to save face, Sony. We know what you're doing. You're so greedy. It's absurd. On Monday, Disney and Sony had failed to reach an agreement regarding their continued Spider-Man partnership. Disney reportedly wanted an even split of the gross, which was fair. That seems 100% fair to me. Like I said, I know Disney's greedy most of the time and wants to own everything, but this is actually fair. Disney reportedly wanted an even split of the gross, not content to stay at the previously agreed on 5%. They took 5% for 2 movies, okay? You're not giving them really any money. Sony didn't even come back with a counter offer. They were not willing to go below 95% on their take of the gross, which is ridiculous. Out of the $2 billion, they've only made $100 million total, which is like nothing compared to the $1.9 billion that Sony made, it's just ridiculous at this point that Sony's being that greedy of the character. And I get it. I get that Sony bought the character a long time ago when Marvel was selling off their characters because they were broke and they went bankrupt, but still, you're being unreasonable at this point, and you're taking a character out of the MCU when we just got him in there in a way where we all liked him and we were very excited about him. I don't really know where they're going to continue Spider-Man right after this, if they're going to, because they can't continue in the MCU, I'm assuming, just because Marvel owns the MCU. I think that's how that works. If you guys can explain that to me, but I think Marvel owns the MCU, so can they technically still put him on that same path, or do they have to take that out? I'm not really sure how that works. If the failed negotiations stand, this means Feige will no longer serve as a producer on the next 2 Spider-Man films starring Tom Holland, which were apparently planned. There is also the issue of the other aspects of Disney and Sony's agreement, which allowed Disney's Marvel characters to appear in Sony's Spider-Man films and vice versa. If Disney has truly walked away from their partnership, that could mean the crossover agreement, which was done in exchange for the co-producer credit on Sony's films, is also off the table, and both companies would have to go to the drawing boards to establish those terms. In an update to its its story post statement, Deadline characterized Sony's comments as an attempt to spin its previous report. Sony gave its statement to The Hollywood Reporter before tweeting it out. Sources told the outlet that Marvel and Feige would not have pulled out of future Spider-Man films, as Feige loves Spider-Man, and I'm sure he does, if Sony had agreed to Disney's terms. We'll bring you more on the story as we know it. So that's pretty much the whole situation with, I personally believe that Sony's being greedy, and I get it, it's their character, but you clearly weren't doing the character right. I loved Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, don't get me wrong. I love those 3 films, but at the end of the day, it comes down to how much money is being made. It doesn't matter how much the character, what matters how much the character is loved as well, but at the end of the day, to these big companies, it matters how much money is being made. And especially like The Amazing Spider-Man, not that many people like that movie. We have all the OG fans for Tobey Maguire, but as far as Andrew Garfield, he has nowhere near as much support as Tom Holland and Tobey Maguire. So it's just, they did 2 different things, and then The Amazing Spider-Man was just kind of thrown in there. Not that I don't like the movies, but still, it's just kind of thrown in the middle. And with Homecoming and Far From Home doing the best out of all of them, I'm pretty sure. I know Disney walked away, but what other choice did they have? They would not give them more than, they wouldn't give Disney more than 5%. So Disney had no other choice but to walk away. They're not just going to take 5% anymore. It's not fair at all. Kevin, it's right. They did the right decision there. It's not really worth their time to only make 5% when they're doing all the work. Personally, I just think Sony's being super, super greedy in this. That's pretty much what it comes down to. I want to know you guys' thoughts, and just if you have any questions on this as to why. But yeah, tell me your thoughts down below, and I love you guys. I'll see you guys in the next one. See you guys later. Bye.